Hi, it's Tom from Two Cave Aquatics, and I wanted to make a second video today regarding filtration. It's something that comes up a lot. Type of filters, mechanical filters, or sponge filters, subs, filtration that people choose to use in their home aquariums is basically achieve the same results at the end of the day. It's a personal choice. There are three types of processes that aquarium filters employ to provide safe and healthy environment for our fish. And those would be biological filtration, chemical filtration, and mechanical filtration. And biological filter uses a specific type of bacteria to break down the ammonia in your tank water and transform it into nitrate and into nitrate, which is less toxic and even beneficial, serving as a source of food for some plants. And chemical filtration is another type of fish tank that filter that process that relies on the use of specifically formulated chemical additives to resolve and remove harmful waste from the water. One of those is a product I have here. It's called zeolite. They look like little white rocks. You can buy those on Amazon. I used to sell them in my store. Zeolite works by acting like a tiny, basically a molecular sponge, utilizing it has a very porous structure to it, and it traps and absorbs positively charged toxins, like heavy metals and other harmful substances in our aquariums. And it has a high absorbency and ion exchange capacity. You can find that, like I said, on Amazon. Some fish stores, of course, sell it. You can look it up. It's Zeolite, zeolite. I have a big bag of it here. Sometimes I'll use it in my filters. I'll put it inside my mesh bag, and I can just stuff it down inside one of my hang on the back filters in my tanks, and it'll absorb, and then I can swap it out. Basically, it removes it from the water and traps those toxins. And then onto mechanical filtration. Basically, is what most people think about when it comes to filters, aquarium filters. It's a type of filter that involves a physical removal of solid particles in your tank water. The filter pushes the aquarium water through like a hang on a back filter, canister filter, whatever you might use, through the media, some sort of a sponge. In my case, I use a coarse sponge on the bottom of my Tidal 110 filter, and then I put polyfill filter floss above that. And when it gets dirty, I just swap it out, and that removes all those particles that is pulled out. I mean, it doesn't. It's not a form of biological filtration. I'm not relying on that to house beneficial bacteria to do that. That's just for water clarity, give me crystal water, and that filter floss traps most of that stuff, majority of it, and then by removing that, I'm taking that out of the water column and putting new filter floss in to start that process all over again. And above that, and it's a personal choice for me, I add a fine mesh bag of Purigen, and that removes it's a resin beads, and it starts out kind of whitish, and it'll turn like dark black by the time it's fully absorbing all the ammonias and toxic things in the aquarium, heavy metals, and that can be reused. That stuff can be used up to like 10 times. It can be cleaned. There's a process. You use bleach and water and clean that out, remove all the stuff that it absorbed, and you can rinse it off and you reuse it like 10 times and before it needs to be replaced. And as aquarium keepers, when it comes to the type of filters we use to achieve those goals, there's a lot of different types. There's internal box filters. I don't use those. There's internal box filters like corner filters. They're usually smaller, compact units. They get stuck in the corner or stuck to your glass inside your aquarium. And then there's canister filters, and those are very popular. Fluval being a big brand. Aquarium makes them. They Sun. There's lots of different companies and types of that make manufacture sell canister filters. They're pressurized filters that are great for aquariums like over 10, 20 gallons, especially the larger tanks. And the canister is placed outside the tank, and it has an intake tube, and it forces the water through filter media, like I use here, sponges or filter floss, and that removes the heavy loads, and those could be swapped out. And they're usually modular, can handle a pretty good amount of biological, filter media, biomedia. And there's diatom filters. Oh boy, diatom filter is a specialized type of aquarium filter. It removes minute particles from the water. They operate by pumping water through a layer of ultrafine particles that scrub the water clean. Fluidized bed filters. Now, I've seen those for sale on Amazon and other places, and those are more like pool filters. They use pool sand or silica to filter water. It's a more modern type of filter. They use sand or silica, like I said, and they're not really great for chemical filtration, but they offer good mechanical filtration. Hang on to back filters, or hang on power filters. That's what I choose. That's what I use in all my aquariums. And in combination with sponge filters, I use Seachem tidal filters. Hang on to back filters. And I modified the baskets on them to improve the water flow. I use a sponge on the bottom, filter floss on top of that, and Purigen, and it gives me good crystal clear water. You can see I'm using that in there. It looks like my fish are just floating in the water. But that's how I achieve that good, healthy water environment for my fish and plants and snails and shrimp. And that's a personal choice that I make. How could I use a canister filter on there? Sure. And there's a space down below it for one. But I have a 10-gallon hospital tank down there. And there's sponge filters. I use those inside my aquariums too. And they're mostly used for biological filtration. The sponge is powered by air or a power head to grow a bacteria that transforms ammonia and nitrate into less toxic nitrite. No, ammonia and nitrates into less toxic nitrates. And they do provide mechanical filtration, and they need to be cleaned periodically. I think I've cleaned the one over in the far left corner. You can see the tube where the water's coming out. That's been in there for 2 years. They got taken out twice, maybe 3 times. And then I use Heiger double sponge filters with the chambers in the bottom for biomedia. They have 2 sponge filters on each one. I can take out one at a time and clean it, or both of them and clean it, and slip them right back on the filter really easy. I use a lot of Heiger products. That's another way to achieve the same thing. There are trickle filters that run tank water over plastic balls or floss, and it aerates the water as much as possible to grow large quantities of beneficial bacteria to break down the waste. And something, when I used to own my own store back in the mid-'80s, that was very popular before a lot of these other filters process even came into being, were under gravel filters. I sold a lot of under gravel filters. It was very popular back then. A lot of people used under gravel filters, and it is an older form of filtration. Some people still use them today, but they have a plate filter under the substrate. Like on this tank, the under gravel filter will be underneath the gravel or underneath the substrate on this tank. And an air pump or a power head that pulls the water down into it down through the gravel into the under gravel filter and then underneath it. That's how those work. And particulates and other contaminants get all sucked down and out of the tank, and then they offer biological filtration, but no chemical filtration that I'm aware of, that I've ever heard of. Then there are plenums, and I mean there are different variations that people have come up with of that, and different combinations. Like I use hang on the back filters and sponge filters and together, and I rely on both of them. I have a sponge filter down here in this corner that Higer sent me to do an unboxing video. It has a sponge on the top and a container on the bottom, but I have biomedia in, and I can just lift this, take the sponge filter off if I need to, and rinse it out in tank water and put it back on. The biological media, the biomedia down here, I rarely ever bother with. I don't. This stuff has been in these filters over here for 2 years. I've never changed that. So that's how a lot of us achieve the same results, but in much different manners. I mean, when the type of filtration you use, whether it's a canister filter, hang on a bag filter, sponge filter, however you achieve that, that's a personal choice that we each make as fish keepers. And can all have the same results in the end, if used properly. I don't know if there's one that's better over the other. I'm not going to make that claim. I'm most certainly not going to make any claim that tidal hang on back filters in conjunction with sponge filters, the way I do it, is the right way, the only way, or the best way. You'll never hear that out of me. It's the way I choose to do it. And that worked for me, and I have every one of my aquariums set up in the same fashion. I do a weekly water change, about 20%, and that's it. I change out the filter floss and my tidal hang on the back filter probably like weekly, because it gets gumped up and dirty pretty quick, because it's so good at trapping all that particles out of the water, those finest particles out. It gets nasty. I just swap it out, and got a big box of it. Buy it bulk on Amazon, polyfill filter floss, and a big box of it. And a box that probably lasts me, I don't know, a year, 2 years. It just takes a handful. It's just literally a handful of it down inside my hang on the back filter. And one warning about filter floss: you kind of gotta get an eye, kind of get a hang for it. If you put too much of it in, and it starts getting filled up and junked up with the stuff that's pulling out of the water, it can swell up and push out of the top of the filter, cause water to run out of it. So it really doesn't take a lot. It really doesn't take a lot, and I change it out quite frequently, about once a week. And it's like the cheapest, most inexpensive way to filter your water out, filter the fine particulates out of the water, all the waste and stuff. And that's about it. I wanted to touch on those basics. And reason why I was making this video today is, I'm in a lot of fish keeping groups on Facebook, and I read a lot on fish keeping forums online and on Reddit and other places. And like I said earlier, somebody will say, "Oh, I just bought a 75-gallon aquarium or a 55-gallon aquarium. I got the tank. I've never kept fish before. But what kind of filters should I use?" And I mean, it's a crapshoot when you ask a question like that, where that lands and who answers it, who comments. And so research is your best friend when it comes to this hobby. And if you're thinking about keeping a 75-gallon aquarium like this, or bigger or smaller, like I said, I could very well have a Fluval FX4 or whatever. That I think a Fluval 6 would be a bit much for this tank. I could use a Fluval canister filter and a hang-on back filter too, and a sponge filter inside. There's nothing saying I can't. I don't use UV sterilizers. I can't imagine. I mean, there's just no point in just putting one on there. That would just be a complete, total waste of money. But from my point of view, the way I do it this way, reason I do it this way, is a Title 110 that I have on these tanks. They're built for 110 gallon aquariums. I'm gonna get on that subject too, but that is like $75. Sponge filter, this one they gave me, this $20. That's 90, so under 100, for under $100, I have that filtration versus what an FS, a Fluval big canister filter, a big Sun canister filter would cost me. And I just choose to do it this way. It's far less expensive, much easier for me. I don't have to open that canister filter and dig through that big canister to do checks, swapping out any filter media, filter floss, clean sponges, swap out the media. I literally just reach to the top, pull the top lid off of that filter there, and take the basket out, replace the filter floss, put new floss back in, and I'm good to go. Maybe every couple of months, I might take the sponge out and rinse it out, because it collects a lot of big junk, and it gets dirty fairly soon, too quick too. And the bag of Purigen that I set on the top for the water to flow through, that usually lasts about a month before it gets dirty enough to swap out. And like I said, you can recharge that stuff if you look up the Purigen resin beads and how it's used. They sell it in pads already that you can just put it in, but I buy it in bulk. And the one warning about that is there's not just any mesh bag to contain that stuff. You got to use a fine mesh bag to contain that. Otherwise, those resin beads are going to just blow all over your aquarium. But for me, and I also put a sponge here. This is a coarse sponge that I cut to fit. That'll fit. I'm going to change this out today. But I set this as a final to catch anything else that my Purigen or my filter floss or the big sponge filter in the bottom doesn't catch. And it also keeps, believe it, it also keeps shrimp from climbing up in there and getting into my filter. They'll do that. Trust me, I've taken this basket out of here, I can't tell you how many times, and found shrimp in there. I've modified the baskets. It voids the warranty. I've shown this before. See all these holes? Yeah, they don't come this way. I drill these holes all the way around, and it greatly improves the flow rate through these baskets. I've modified the baskets on all my Title filters the same way. It voids the warranty, but man, they work better for me. I've found that out. And this bag of Purigen, it's already getting dark. It can actually go longer than that. It'll get almost black. And then I can actually take this over to the sink and rinse this out. And it'll clear a lot of that junk back out of there. And it'll lighten up the color and just toss it right back in. And that's fine too. And it makes this stuff go a lot farther. And then the filter floss is underneath that. There's my filter floss, and it gets dirty really quick. And this is the stuff that I swap out like weekly. It gets gunked up first. And if you let it go too long, it clogs up and basically becomes useless. It's all clogged and stopped up, and it'll just stop working for you. And you could possibly leak those toxins right back into your aquarium. So it's a matter of timing. Like I said, I switch it out about once a week when it gets nasty. It's really dirt cheap to buy polyfill filter floss in a big box on Amazon. So thank you to all our new subscribers. Appreciate that a lot. Hope everybody has an amazing evening. And keep your hands in the water. And for those new fish keepers out there, first time fish keepers, people that are interested in this hobby, feel free to ask any questions you like. And like I said, when it comes to tank size and what kind of filters you use, your fish, the substrate. These are, well, they have plants in your aquarium or not. These are all personal choices. They're ours to make, our own. It's your money, your dime, your time. And like I tell some of the naysayers I hear on Facebook groups, this is what I tell them all. This is my tank. There are many like it, but this one is mine. And everybody have a great evening. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll be back with another video soon. Thanks.